Yeah, bang bang rail. When you start as a kid, yeah, and you just get up in the morning, get dressed, help your mum out, do bits and pieces, and then go to school. And I used to run up this hill, yeah, run up this place called this hill called John Perrin Road, yeah. I used to run up there every morning, yeah, to the school, run, and we used to have it's an old wooden bridge at the top. That's across West End Avenue. I used to run up the stairs, as far as I can, you know. Run across it, down, and always sort of running to the school, yeah. Never stopped, got to school. I was always in trouble. I was always fighting the teachers, but I loved my sports. I loved my cricket. I loved my football. I was always running around all the time, keep myself really, really fit. Just something that was in me. I don't know what happened, but it was something that was there in me, yeah. Maybe it was because I was sexually abused as a child, I don't know. That made me want to be different, yeah. And then you meet guys, you meet people, and you start doing things that you shouldn't be doing, like little robberies and bits and pieces like that, yeah. And then you go up to court and they put you in a place called Ashford Remand Prison, yeah, where you start to learn that exercise in there is a different kettle of fish to exercise out on the street. So you get in there and you're meeting people like this Hooper, this PTI, that used to get in doing bunny hops everywhere and jumping up in the air and touching the ceiling and coming back down, doing star jumps and leg thrusts and alternate leg thrusts and all these things. All day long you was exercising and you get in your cell. And it was one of the things, even when you get in your cell, you start doing press-ups, you know, doing press-ups and sit-ups, and it didn't stop. And while I was in Ashford Mine prison, I never stopped. Sit-ups, press-ups, press-ups. And I was just always keeping myself really fit, yeah? Always defined, always cut up, big chest, nice abs, big, nice legs, everything. Never stopped training. And then they put you in a Borstal, yeah? And they put me in a Borstal called Portland Borstal. I was only young kid, and I went to Portland Borstal. Then I realised that all the exercises I've done over the years as a kid, that was nothing compared with what I had to go through in Portland Borstal. You was treated like military. You was treated like military, and you had to do everything in military order, yeah? You know, colours, everything was in colours. I mean, certain ways. I was talking to a friend of mine on the podcast, and he remembers when we had to put soap down the creases of our trousers, soap to keep the crease in, and cut up bits of cardboard and put it in the collar to keep the collar nice and crisp, yeah, and things like that. But it's all regimental, yeah. It's all you're regimental. It's all regimental. And getting up in the morning and exercising and making your bed up, your bed pack, and stand to attention, and you've got to do all this, yeah, and then getting out in the yard, freezing cold, absolutely bitter cold, right by the sea, bitter, you know, it's just, your hands are freezing, and you've got to keep yourself warm, yeah. You've got to do exercise. They're getting you exercises you wouldn't believe. I think all these PTIs in the Borstals are ex-military, ex-SAS, ex-something, yeah? Because they're all military trained. They're all fit, really, really fit people. What you do, what they ask you to do, they're doing it. And they're doing it better than what you're doing. And you've got to do it as well as what they do it, as good as what they do it. And you're training, and you're doing all sorts of burpees and leg jumps and star jumps, and you're just getting yourself fitter and fitter and fitter, and you're running around the yard 20 times, 30 times, 40 times. And you've got to be up there, yeah? You've got to be up there with them running, yeah? You don't want to be the last one. You don't want to be the last one when they start off with 10 press-ups, yeah? You're doing 10 press-ups. You don't want to be the last person who's doing 10 press-ups and then going running around again, and then you're doing 20 press-ups, and then they're doing 30 press-ups, and then they're doing 40 press-ups, and then you're out in that yard until you do the press-ups they ask you to do. Everyone's gone in and you're still doing it. You've got to do them. You've got to do them. You're struggling. You realise now that when you get back to your dorm or back to your cell or wherever it is, yeah, you've got to start learning to do press-ups, proper press-ups. You can't do up, down. You've got to touch the floor, come up slow, go down slow, come up slow. It's none of that quick. It's all military. And we do everything by the watch, yeah. They've got stopwatches. You do everything by the watch. You run down there in 20 seconds. 20 seconds seems quick, but 20 seconds is a long time when you've got to do what they're telling you to do. It seems forever, yeah. And then you stop, you come back, you walk back, you do your star jumps, you do your burpees, you do your leg thrusts, run again, boom, boom. And when I first went to Borstal, I was fit anyway, but when I first went to Borstal and they was giving me that, doing me that, giving me all them exercises, making me do this, making me do that, I was so sick. I was sick for about, 2 weeks, spewing up, because it was so hard. I mean, it was so, and to be military trained like that, everything's done military, yeah. So eventually, I tried to have it away, and they took. Then I went to a recall centre, and which is the Borstal, and it was the recall was 10 times worse than the actual Borstal Portland I went to. The recall centre was such bad. I mean, they nearly killed you. They nearly killed you. I mean, I've seen people just keel over. And they're dragging them to the side. And that's how it was in the Borstals in them days, in the 60s, late 60s, yeah. And it was just, they just push you aside, mate, as if you're nothing, yeah. And you have to do exactly what they say. It's all about military. It's all about learning. It's all about being that better person, It is about it. But what they don't realise what they're doing, they're making you so fit and so military trained that when you come out in that Borstal, mate, you're like a jet. You're like a jet. You're not like an old plane. You're a jet, mate. You're a jet. You're so fast, it's unbelievable. And then you start meeting your mates, and everything you do is military. You start going around the parks and all that and training, and then you get together and start saying, listen, we're properly military trained. We can do things military. They ain't got a chance of catching us. They ain't got a chance of taking one of us alive as such, We were so military trained, mate. And when we was doing robberies, we was military. We done everything military, by the watch. Go there, bump, do this, bump, bump, and it's all military. Go over there, stand over there, yeah, do that, and it was all proper. And you used to get money, used to flow out of you, just flow. It was like crazy, do silly things, But as you say, it was all military. But then you had Serious Robbery Squad 1. That was at Barnes, yeah. They was cottoning on to us and to the way we worked, and the way we done things, military, and when you see us walking down the road, right, we was military, mate. We was crisp. We was like this, no waist, cut in, shoulders, big shoulders, nice set of arms, no fat round their body. Their body's it's all chiseled. It's all chiseled, and you're looking straight in front of you. You look really like no one would fuck with us, man. No, believe me, I'm telling you, no one would fuck with us. And Richie McNeil, not Richie McNeil, Richie Allen, yeah. I met him in Portland, Borstal. Me and him had a fallout with my sister, but it doesn't really matter. Richie Allen was one of the fittest guys that I've ever seen. In Borstal, he was like, well, if you could do what he'd done, as hard, or say 3/4 as good as the way he'd done it, you'd be tops, mate. He was the person that you had to follow. He was the person you had to be behind. He was the person that done everything correct, And it took maybe what I done a 6-2 Borstal. I've done nearly 62 Borstal as well, you know. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just one of the things that, you know, it's 2 years, 6 months. Borstal is a long time, you know what I mean? But you got to do it. You got to do it. We had to do it, and we had to train and train and train and train and train. You know, and when we come out and then we started doing robberies, and then after that, I got captured, and they sent me to my YP. They sent me to the scrubs first, my YP. Listen, I went straight in there, and I had a fight with one of the top boys in there. Was come from Birmingham, and okay, I got beat. Yeah, I got beat. But believe me, let me tell you something. Yeah, he wouldn't want to fight that. He wouldn't want to fight me again. Never in a million years. You know, I was just, I mean, coming into a prison, and you know, and then you've got to fight your way up. You know, and I've done my Borstal. I've done my Borstal. All my fights in Borstal. I know how it is. I know the system. They couldn't. The only difference was in my YP. Yeah. As a Borstal boy, you keep everything crisp. Shirts folded up, everything crisp. It's all, the bed's done, everything's all folded up correctly, yeah? So how wide it's got to be. They get a tape and measure things, yeah? Right. So anyway, after a while you're out there doing your bits and pieces, you go to my YP, and it was the same as there. I was to keep everything really, really, you know, they knew. As soon as you go into the YP, and you go in your cell, and you're doing your beds, and you do everything packed up, you do it proper. But what I didn't do was clean all the windows and all this, that, and the other, and you never had all that sort of thing. But anyway, and then you get the chief one comes in, and then they start taking remission off for the dirt that's in your cell, bits of dust and stuff, yeah. So then you learn about that, yeah, about keeping things really spotless. I'm like it now in any home I have. I'm crazy. I can't stop cleaning places. I'm mad. I have to clean anything, dust, everything clean. I just don't stop cleaning, mate. Look at me cleaning dust. That's crazy. But always cleaning, yeah. So in my YP, that become military. Every day I was in my cell, loads of sit-ups. Didn't stop doing sit-ups. Loads of burpees, loads of star jumps. I mean, I drove people mad, all the noise I was making, grunting and groaning and jumping up and down. You know, people going, shut up, man, all that. But I was never stopped. And then I went to my YP, to my Aylesbury YP. I went there, and same thing. You're training. I mean, my mate Matt Legg done a podcast of Lenny McLean and a guy called Michael Peace, yeah, from Wales. Now, I was away with a guy called Michael Peace, come from Wales, thick neck, great big thick neck, good fighter, mate. And it was, I mean, when I'd never seen him get beat. Me and him had a few words, but we never had a fight. I don't think that I'd have won these fights with him. You know what I mean? This guy was hard as nails, could really have it, yeah. And I met him in my YP in Aylesbury. I'm not quite sure. I think Matt Lee did check it up, and I don't think he's been there. I'm not quite sure, but this can't be another Malcolm Peace. It's got to be him. And this guy was like a powerhouse, yeah. Me and him used to train together nearly every day. We used to meet in the toilets and do all the exercises. He was a cleaner, I was a cleaner. He had a great big neck, and he used to turn his collars inside, yeah, and the screws were shouting, but get your collars out. You know, he didn't give a monkey's, mate. He'd done a Borstal. I forget where he'd done a Borstal, but he was so fit, so muscular, yeah. I had him on the, I had him, when I was in the laundry, opposite me was the big gym, like the powerlifting gym, yeah. And you had Smith who was in charge of it, and he used to walk around with a guy called Ted Wayne. I'll never forget Ted Wayne. He was a little half-caste guy. He was built like nothing you could imagine, mate. He was just legs like that, mate, and he was just little guy, 5'2", 5'3", but like a powerhouse, yeah. And I was training in our wing, which is F and G wing. It was the first time, even though I'd done a Borstal, they made a muck up. They didn't take me off of there, put me in the main. They put me on F and G wing, yeah. So I was there with Malcolm Peace, and me and him used to train every day. Really, really hard. There was guys. There's a guy called Alan Dixon, not Alan Dixon. I forget his name, but it wasn't Alan Dixon. Not Alan Dixon. I think his name was Alan Dixon. Yeah, there was this guy. He was like really good-looking guy. You could see he's done Borstal. His cell was immaculate. Yeah. Me, Malcolm Peace, got together with him, and we run F and G wing. But the Birmingham guys, I mean, there was a lot of them. I think there was about 10 of them. They run their side. We run our side. We was F wing. They was G wing. Yeah, and it was like when we used to go to the gym in the F and G wing. Malcolm Peace, me and Alan. It was Alan Dixon. That was his name. This kid's name. Yeah, we used to train. Listen, we knocked the pot. One thing I could do, yeah, I could train because I've learned it all my life. Never stopped, and I never stopped training for 2 hours. Never stopped. Run up and down the gym, coming back, doing the burpees, leg thrusts, alternate leg thrusts, star jumps, all them sort of things, press ups. We learned. Malcolm Peace learnt me to do a press up. Yeah, that he used to do. He used to lay his arms out straight, on fingertips, legs out straight like a press up, but hands together, and pick yourself up. And he used to do 10s and 20s with this, yeah. Listen, I tried it and I couldn't do one. You know, his back was so powerful and his abs were so powerful, yeah. But every day you're doing it, and we were in the powerlifting team. Not Alan Dixon, he wasn't a powerlifting team. It was me, Malcolm Peace. There was a guy from Plymouth, yeah, Gary. What was his name? Sorry about what his name was. It's such a long time ago, you know what I mean? This is like late 60s, early 70s, yeah. And it's this girl called Gary. He was a big guy. When I say big, he was massive. I can't say he was fat because he wasn't fat, but he was. If you see him walking down the road, you say he's a big fat guy, yeah. But he wasn't. He was short, massive, yeah. When he took his shirt off, there was no fat there. It was just solid. The waist was, I don't know. Say I had about them days, I had a 28, 30-inch waist. He'd had maybe a 40, 44, 46 waist, you know, but he never looked like that. It was just, this guy, Gary, he was one of the strongest guys that I've ever met in prison. He was doing phenomenal weights, squatting with phenomenal weights, deadlifting phenomenal weights, bench pressing 4 plates down to the chest, stop, like it was nothing. But the bar didn't move that far because he's such a big chest, yeah. And he was on the main wing, I was on the other wing. I have said this before, but it's all part of my as all YP. So we sometimes we had to go over to the main wing to play football with their team. We had our own team. There was me. I was once a footballer, but I was a powerful look, yeah. So it was me. There was Malcolm Peace, Alan Dixon. There was about the proper football team. We went over there one day and to play football, and there was this geezer there, a northerner, bodybuilder. He's a proper bodybuilder, this geezer. only a kid, young, white peony. He was a proper bodybuilder, but he was a bully. He thought he was a bully, yeah. And he's barging this and barging that. And then Malcolm see him being what he was doing, and he changed from left side to right side, from left, I think left half to right half, or something like that. And he come over to the other side, and then he started on that side. And Gary, when Malcolm Peace hit you, it was like being hit with a gun, but a bullet, yeah, boom, and knocked this guy over, and they kept on, and this guy gave him a bit of abuse, sorry, and then Malcolm just walked out, bang, bang, mate. He knocked this guy sparko. He knocked him absolutely sparko. I think he must have put his jaw right round the other side of his head. I mean, Malcolm got nicked for it. He got put down the block, but the block. Anyway, then I was in the laundry with a guy called Alan Pounty. All fit. Everybody, there was full of Indians in there, and young Alan Pounty, he's a young burglar. He was doing 18p, a life sentence, yeah. This guy was dangerous. He was just so dangerous. He thought nothing about stabbing you with a needle. You know, these knitting needles you put on nappies and things like that, but these are big ones, yeah? And he'd stab people like easy, just stab him in the arse, stab him in the leg. He'd stab anybody. He was a little donor sort of fucker, and he was like, you know, and I used to tell him to behave yourself. You know, I was always petrified when he was around you, around the back area, that he was going to plunge you up. Alan Pounty, nice, I felt sorry for him, you know, that he was doing 18p. It was down to his dad that grassed him up in a way. This kid was spotless, yeah. This kid was shirts are crisp, everything was spotless in there. Everything was spotless on him, yeah. It's a bit beyond more white people, I'll tell you what happened to him, yeah. He was a young kid, yeah, that really he shouldn't have been in the YP, but they had to put him in there because no one can control him, yeah. So they put him in the YP wing. So then he got transferred back to the scrubs. They already had to be allocated. He went to I think it was Parkhurst. From Parkhurst he went to Broadmoor, and then the Crays abused him. They really abused him. I mean, the reasons I know that they really abused him is because through one of my sentences, I think it's in the 80s, I'm not quite sure, the 80s. I've been transferred from the scrubs from Wandsworth to the scrubs over the fire, yeah, at Chelmsford Prison. So, and that was in 78, late 78. So it was about the 80s, early 80s. And I met Alan on D-Wing. He was in D-Wing in the scrubs. I was on C-Wing, but I was going to go to D-Wing. But anyway, in the end, I got released. But I met him. I couldn't believe it when I see him. He's like hair up to here, bald, still crisp with the way he dresses and all that going. I thought, is that Alan Pounty? I walked up. I said, "Hello, Alan." He looked at me. He went, "Hello, Ray. Yesterday, how you going?" I said, "Oh well." I said, "Mate, you've been away forever. You've been away forever. It seems like forever you've been away, mucker. You know what I mean? Because you've got to remember my Borstal, my YP, and then late 80s, and then he's still away. He's 60, like my YP was 60s, 70s, 69s area that way, and it's 80s. He's still in there, you know. And I was talking to him, and I said, "Where was your mate?" He said, "I was ended up in Broadmoor." But that's how he talked, yeah. He said, then they're sending me out here now, and they're trying to get me a DCAT. You know, I think they're trying to release me, right, you know. But I don't think he could cope. I don't think he'd have coped outside. I think he was very institutionalised. Yeah? And he took me to his cell. I was able to go and D-wing. I'm a long term, you know what I mean? Chelsea burnt down and I knew the score, I just let it go, yeah? I walked into his cell and, mate, he had letters from Reggie and Ronnie. He had pictures of Reggie and Ronnie all around his cell. He loved them like, well, just loved them to death. And, you know, and you could see they well abused him, mate. They well abused him. It's a shame, you know what I mean? That they'd done to this young kid, you know, even though he didn't say that he had been abused by them. You knew because the way he was, a young kid, goes to Parkhurst and then Broadmoor. You can imagine what's going on, can't you? But, you know, I was gutted, really. Anyway, we go back to Chelsea, go back to Aylesbury, YP. So anyway, I'm in the laundry. I'm in the powerlifting team. We won every competition there was to win. We won into prison southern area, all the competitions you could have. And there was a lifter in Parkhurst. I forget his name. It was a big Olympic lifter, and he lifted phenomenal weights. But Gary, this guy I'm talking about, the guy from Plymouth, Gary, he bashed him up. He smashed him with weights. He bullied him, you know, and he won us the trophy. I mean, I was doing phenomenal weights myself. I was doing 3 plates, bench pressing. A young kid. Once I think I've done about 160 strict bench down to the chest clap. I wasn't much good before. Everything was pounds in. It was all in pounds, no kilos, in pounds in them days. So I think I'd done about 450, 460 squat pounds. Deadlift 795 pounds. Yeah, deadlift. I was fantastic. Yeah, I could really deadlift. Gary from Plymouth. He wasn't as good as me on the deadlift, but squats and bench press, he smashed me up. Yeah, he bashed me up. But the little Ted Waits, fantastic. Even listen, Malcolm Peace, strong. He could squat for such a guy like that, massively. He could squat. Do you know what? And Malcolm Peace, right? He wasn't afraid of no one, mate. He was not afraid of anybody. He had a neck. His neck had to be 22, 23 inches. Massive neck. Powerful. Always shadow boxing. And you knew that if he hit you on the chin, you was gone. You know, you was gone. And we used to play. We had a chief, yeah, a chief in my YP called Jack Dyer. And he was the chief of all prisons, because you only had one chief in all the prisons, you know, the chief of the crown. He was a chief. He was a wicked old boy, you know what I mean? But nice fella, but wicked, you know what I mean? Things you made you do, yeah? But he hated Malcolm. He hated Malcolm Peace. He really did. He hated him so much, yeah? Because Malcolm didn't care what he was shouting and all this, that, now. He just done his own thing. And I remember, I said, Malcolm, don't do it. Don't do it. You know, you don't say it out loud. You say it in your head, you know. So he's playing football. Even the chief, Chief Jack Dyer, or Jack something his name is. Yeah. He's playing football. Now, Malcolm tackles him and takes the ball, and the chief falls to the floor. The chief gets up, blows a whistle. Malcolm comes over, he's pointing at Malcolm, this, that, and the other, but it's part of football. Malcolm don't go in soft, he goes in hard, yeah? He's giving it to Malcolm, really giving it. And you can see Malcolm's face change. You can see that he's, you see these close-ups of things, like, it's just so, like, really slow things. You can see his hands. You can see his hands slowly, like, getting together. And in my head, I'm going, Malcolm, don't. Please don't, mate, you know. And his hands down by his side. And then his hands come up a little bit. And I looked at him. I was nodding my head. I used to say, don't do it, you know. And he just pushed him, yeah. He pushed him, knocked him flying, yeah. And the whistle went. They come and got Malcolm. And that's the last time I saw him. I didn't see no more. I think because the chief, Jack Dyer, I think his name was Jack Dyer, because he had so much power, they got him ships out and maybe sent him to a white piss hole, yeah, like Broadmoor or something like that, yeah. But I never see Malcolm again. He must have went back up north or back to Wales or wherever he went to. Never see him again. And when Matt Legg, my mate, done a big podcast about him, and also he was in my book called Street Fighters, Malcolm. I can't believe it. It can't be the same guy. It must be the same guy. It's got to be the same guy in Malcolm Peace. There's only one Malcolm Peace, and it's Malcolm Peace from Wales. And this guy could really have it. And anyway, you know, he was just a good mate. You know, a good mate that didn't stand no shit. And I was just so pleased that he never hit Jack Dyer, the chief, because I think he'd have hit him more like he killed him. And this Jack Dyer was a nasty piece of work. Nice guy, but a nasty piece of work as far as getting you doing things. I mean, remember, I used to get us in the winter. He loved it. He loved it, saying skins that way, vest that way, football. And after you played it, because of where we was, F&G Wing used to be a women's prison, yeah? So it's a lot different to the main. There's more in the women's prison than there was in the main. So when you go around the back of the prison, between all the wings, between F&G Wing, there's a swimming pool. Yeah, honestly, seriously, there's a swimming pool in them days. And what we used to do, Jack Dyer used to get us to jump in the pool naked. I'm on about naked. I'm sure this guy was half gay, you know, definitely. Well, he had to be. It was a Matt, though, being in the Navy and all that game. Yeah, he was a top whatever in the Navy, yeah. Anyway, so he used to get us to jump in the water and break the ice. The ice was really thin. It could, I mean, you know, really thin, and swim to the other end. Listen, let me tell you something. I swear to God. You take your shorts off, you got no willy anyway, it's freezing cold. But when you jump in that water, your willy goes about like, not even, it's like a snail. You can't see it. And there was only one guy in there that made you look a bit of an idiot, was Nugent, yeah? And this Nugent was an African guy. This guy was a fantastic runner, mate. You couldn't beat this guy running. He was like, just unbelievable runner. He had legs that come up to there, you know. Like he's unbelievable, and he could run, this geezer. But he had his 3-piece suite downstairs, mate. It had to be. I'd never seen one in my life like it. He'd take his shorts off. It was freezing cold. You know what I mean? And he'd jump in the pool and get out the other end of the pool at about 12 inches long. And I think a couple of times I've been on a visit here, and when I was in my YP Aylesbury, you could eat on a visit like chocolates and fruit, yeah? But obviously I'd have to check it all out first. But I remember there was two guys that come to visit him, Nugent. They used to wrap up oranges and apples in these plastic bags. They was as bent as a knob of nuts. So Nugent must have worked for them or whatever. Must have been their boyfriend. I don't know what it was, yeah. But he got well looked after. He got everything. His cell in my YP, Aylesbury YP. You're even the scrubs was the same. You're not allowed a radio as such. You're allowed a transistor radio, which is about 4 or 5 inches high by about, 3 inches wide, something like that. And you had two tiny little batteries that lasted about an hour. So what we used to do, you had to earn that. You had to earn that radio. You get your parents to send it in or spend your money, yeah? Well, my parents, I didn't want my mum to spend money on me, so I had to save it up and buy one, yeah? So when you get it, it all comes in a box and bits and pieces and your little batteries in there. And most people have got one that have been in there quite some time. And they've all got a thing called a PP9, which is a big battery, big square battery. And they put it on your little transistor, so it lasts for a month to a month, yeah? So when I first got mine, and you only can have it on for an hour a night, yeah? That's it. And it's got to be low, not loud music. You can't be putting it high, yeah? Everyone's got to get asleep, and that's it. And so you get a little bit of music, and anyway, when I first got it, I was over the moon, yeah? And my job in there was the wing cleaner. I was doing the toilets and all this, that and the other, and you had to bumper the landings. The landings are there was tiles, yeah, all tiles, and you had to bumper them. And when you say bump them, it's like you get on your hands and knees to polish the floor. Not with a mop or nothing, you polish it on your hands and knees from about, I don't know, how long? I don't know, 30 yards, something like that, 20 yards, 30 yards. And you're on your hands and knees putting polish down. Right? And then it dries, and you take your shoes off and you put these slippers on, they give you, and you get a bumper. Bumpers is about, 7 foot long, and you got a big, at the end of it, you got a big pad with hair underneath, but solid hair, and you're throwing this fucking bumper back and forwards, and it's like a workout, you know what I mean? After doing that for 2 hours, your shoulders are solid, and being that I was in the powerlifting team anyway, I loved it because it was like a workout for me, I loved doing it, and in my YP, not so much my Borstal, because you never get to hear about it in my Borstal, but in your YP you get to hear about sex offenders, and it's not so much, you don't really hear a lot about it, but on the wing I was with, it seemed to be there was a couple in there, and there was one called, what's his name, Pardo, and he was a bad one, mate, ginger hair. He looked about 90, but he might have been 19, 20. He looked about 90. He had no hair on his head, long hair down the side, like Rasputin sort of thing, yeah. And he got done for cutting young girls' breasts off and sewing them up and using them as tobacco pouches. And this guy was so wicked, mate. But it was always round a couple of screws. I don't know, even more like doing sexual favours, I don't know. But it was always Pardo, his name, Pardo, yeah. He was always round a couple of screws. And these guys from G-Wing, the guys from Birmingham, they couldn't stand it. They could not stand this guy walking around like he did, all leery, laid down to there, going into the games room, taking over the pool table, snooker table and all that, and then screws up his arse 24/7, or screws his arses 24/7. And the SO in that wing won the whole wing. And he was like, he had to go. It was as easy as that. And these guys from Birmingham, mate, they nearly killed him. They must have stabbed him, I don't know, 10, 12 times with a pencil. And they stabbed all his body up, his face and everything. It's nearly killed him, yeah. But they all got shipped out. And I can never forget the day that they shipped him out. The wing was shut, the wing was closed down, but they never banged us up. We had big windows on our landings that looked out. It was like it was a women's prison, yeah. So the bar was there, yeah, but you could look out, yeah. He didn't shout out, I mean, come on. But he looked out there, mate, and he see these lot walking across the yard, all cuffed up by old Bill, cuffed up. They was already doing a life, all of them, for a bigger fray. And and they was like in trouble. They was in trouble. They more like got a big bit of bird that lot. We never heard nothing. They never made themselves busy to find out what happened. But it was a shame what happened to them, you know what I mean? But they just done what they had to do, you know. And I mean, I loved Owlsbury. I was good, fit, mate, fit. And we used to play a thing called Murder Ball, yeah, in F&G wing. And now and again, this particular time, they sent us over to the main wing. There was a PTI there called Johnson. I met Johnson in the scrubs. He was an SO in the scrubs, or PO in the scrubs. Johnson. Johnson was a screw of a PTI in out my YP Owlsbury. Yeah, Johnson, nice fella, mate. Johnson. Anyway, he used to call me Illy all the time. Illy, all that. And I was a big lump. I was in the powerlifting team. I was, you know, always very, very fit. And this particular time, we went over there to play Murder Ball. I've always said it before, but it's part of my story. Went over there and playing Murder Ball with their team against our team. So they put the medicine ball in the middle of the room, and you've got to run as fast as you can, pick the medicine ball up and get to their mat, their end. They've got to get to the mat, and you've got to stop them. Either way, you've got to stop them. Not so much hit them on the chin. You could use your elbow, your shoulders, but Johnson didn't care. He loved it. He loved it. He loved the violence. You know? He loved it. So he might tell you, but he loved it. You can see he loved it. All that game, right? And that's it. Johnson and Rodwell. I'll never forget these two, Johnson and Rodwell. I think them two was together in the scrubs, Rodwell as well as Johnson. And you're playing Murder Ball, and all of a sudden there was this guy. Some of these black guys, you look at them and you look at them, you think, nah, there's no way that he's a YP. He should be like, but this geezer, not saying it because he was big, because he was big. There was this black guy. He was massive, mate. He was a big guy. I was a powerlifter. I mean, I was big, 6'1". He was about 6'7", 6'8", but big with it, yeah. He wasn't a powerlifter or nothing like that, but he was a big guy. Basketball, or whatever he does there. And anyway, so he's got the Murder Ball. I've taken him down. I give him a little dig. I've got the Murder Ball running. I've got bashed up there. I got hit by a few people. Give him a few digs to me. You know what I mean? I loved it. It was like proper hard. You know, I've done my Borstal and all this. We've done all this, and it's part of fitness. You know, getting yourself really good and disciplined. Anyway, so I've got the ball. I've got the medicine ball. I'm running down the side, and he's come over, and he hasn't hit me with his elbow. He's hit me on the chin. Whoop, bang! He's hit me on the chin. He's knocked me over on the chin. Knocked me over. And I see all stars, yeah. And so I thought he's got to go. Me and him one out having a fight in the gym. Anyway, then we goes to have a shower. So in the shower room, he comes in getting really leery, yeah. And there he is. Yeah, and I know I've got to bash him up. I've got to knock him spark out this geezer. I've got to do it. So I went, boom! Again, crashed, knocked him, sat him on his arse, kicked him a few times in the head, and then got ready and we went out, and the screws going, oi, come in here. Anyway, the geezer kept his mouth shut, fair play to him. He didn't say nothing, yeah, but he got a good bashing up. So now and again, our wing, we used to get a canteen, but they used to take the canteen from the main wing over to F&G wing, but sometimes they never used to pick the canteen up. We used to go over to the main wing to get our canteen. So about a month down the line, the same thing happens there. We have to go over the main wing to get our canteen. So I forgot about this black guy and this and that, but it's still going over the main wing. It's still a bit dodgy over there. There's people that have been in prison before, even though I've done my Borstal, but they haven't said nothing about it. So to go from one wing, which has maybe got, 100 people, to the main wing that's got maybe 800 people, and we're out most of the time, it's a big concern out there anyway. Go over there, and I'm coming down by the stairs to go to the canteen, and this black geezer jumped on my back and got hold of my ear, this side, and bit my ear off. Yeah, bit my ear off. He bit right. When I say bit my ear off, didn't bite my ear off. He bit right through my ear, mate. It was like it was the worst pain in the world. You know what I mean? And because he was where he was, I grabbed these balls and I squeezed them, mate. He's already bit through my ear. The pain was phenomenal, but no more pain as such. But when I got all his 3-piece suite downstairs, I squeezed it. So I squeezed all his things, yeah? You can imagine, I'm still squeezing. He's screaming like a pig. He let go of my ear. I'm really squeezing now. I mean, I must have smashed him to pieces. I was squeezing. The screws come. I buckled him up, dragged us down the chokey, big stairs. I'm on about steep stairs. That's where they kept the train with us, mate, in this block. It's so secure. Checked down the stairs. I mean, my ears is pouring with blood. Drags us in the block. I'll tell you about the block in a minute. Drags us in the block. They look at me and they call an ambulance straight away and they take me to a place called Grendon Underwood, yeah? Grendon Underwood is a hospital and also a prison. It's a psychology prison, right? But Grendon Underwood, the hospital, is where they do a lot of tattoos. They take the tattoos off, they cut them off with this machine, and then they take your skin off your legs, put it on, and they do a thing called dermagrade. They cut it on and they sort of file it down. And I was in there with quite a few people from other prisons, from big prisons outside, yeah? And I got talking to some nice people, but the doctor in there was a bit. He was in a wheelchair. He had something not right about him, you know. Like you look at him, it wasn't right. He used to talk to me, and he said to me, "Okay, we're going to do your ear. We're going to sew your ear up." My ear was hanging off, yeah. My ear was in a right bad way, and he said, "I'm going to numb it now." And but he didn't numb it. He didn't numb my ear at all. He said he did. He didn't. Mate, it's the worst pain I could ever. I mean, he sewed my ear up, mate. It was the worst pain I could ever. It didn't numb it. I was saying, numb my ear. I've numbed it. You know, like, hey, I've numbed it. Don't worry, here you come. But he didn't. Yeah, and I was in a bad way. And he bandaged all my head up. Yeah, bandaged all my head up. Really fucking tight. I don't know what he had. He had some vendetta about me. I don't know what it was, yeah. So he bandaged my head up so tight. Anyway, I was there for a week, and then they unbandaged it, and my ear, boink, just popped out, mate. It just popped out. He didn't do it proper. He ruined my ear, and since that time I've been getting clumps, and it's like a cauliflower now, yeah. But anyway, when I went back to Owlsbury, and I put me back on F&G wing. Same thing, I was just training all the time, but this guy, what was his name? I forget his name now, the screw. He was SO, he hated me because of his boyfriend, Pardo, being bashed up. He thought I might have had something to do with it. And then he got involved with this other young kid, right? What was there, really gay. And he was going at geezers. He would go in his room, and his kid wouldn't come out for about an hour. So you know what's going on there. He'd lock it up, and he'd be abusing his kid. So I used to give this geezer a screw, real grief, yeah. And honestly, I hated him. If I could have pushed him down the stairs and broke his neck, I would have done, yeah. But I hated him so much. And one day we had a round. Anyway, he took me down the block. And it's the first time I've been down there, yeah. But after this time, I was going down all the time because this screw had ate my guts, yeah. I went down there, and it's the screw, it's the prison there was to keep the train robbers. They kept the train robbers down there because it's so secure. It goes down there. As I walked into the block, I've got all gates everywhere, yeah. Walked in the block, I see this big screw, must have been 6'7", 6'8". He had feet, must have been 14, 15 inches, big feet. Bisherton, never forget his name because of what he used to do. Bisherton goes down there, You say, oh, you're one of these people that like to give officers abuse. So, okay. All right, thank you, sir. You can go. And he stand by, he come by the side of you. And he say, take your shirt off, take your vest off, take your vest off, stand there. We will give you not a shirt or a vest, it'll be a blue t-shirt, yeah? Special block one. It's got on it, block. They loved it, don't they? Block. Ours with block, they loved it. So he gives you the t-shirt, but as you put the t-shirt on, they get under your arms. They get under your arms, yeah? And they pinch your arms. Mate, the pain. He pinch them and squeeze them. I hate his guts, man. And then he put you in the cell. Throw you in the cell. And he'd say to you, right, that bed, that mattress has got to come out. That's got to come out. Everything, your sheets, your blankets, everything's got to come out on top of your mattress. Fold it up in a block, in a square. You'll have all that. Put it on top. You don't lay down on the floor, anything. You sit on that chair until such times we tell you to get the mattress so you can lay down. That's at night time, 6 o'clock. And your job in the daytime, when you walk out of prison, you noticed that there was bins, dustbins. But these dustbins, you could, like glass, you could just look at it, see your face like a mirror. And where do they come from? They come from the block. Because when you're in a block, he chucks you in a bin, sandpaper, wet and dry, and that is your job. Clean in the bins, in your cell, that you sleep in, that you're eating. So when you're rubbing this thing, wet and dry, and you put this stuff on it, it's in your cell. So the amount of shit that goes in your cell, you can imagine coming to all the dust and shit. You've got little windows like that, and you know, and you can't believe it. But what can you say? What can you do? It is what it is. And every day, right, you clean your cell. You clean. That's what you do. You do that, and then they chuck you in a bucket, water, and a cloth, and you go around your cell, clean it all the walls, everything, clean the windows, everything, and then you get your bed in, and that's you. But when you go and exercise, the block, Owlsbury used to be a woman's prison, F&G wing, and the block, I believe, what I was told, that they used to hang women there, chop women in that block, around there, yeah? When you walk round the yard, when you walk round the exercise yard in Owlsbury, you got big wall to stop you from the wing or stop you from whatever. And as you're walking around the exercise yard, you look on the walls and you see his names like Gladys, Doris, Val, all these names, old-fashioned names, yeah, that the women that was in the block or going to be chopped or whatever would put their names, you know, big. And on the grass, there was this big, like, what, I don't know, what can you say, marble? I don't know. Plaques on the grass, you know, with women's names on them. So they must be the women that got chopped. They must bury them either in the ground or their names are there and they bury them around the neck, bury them around the prison, you know. It's crazy, man. And you're looking in there and you're thinking, and you're talking to the screws. There was at Bishopton, there was a one called Stone with a big bushy moustache, Stone. The moustache out here and he come down here, you know, like, he was really regimented, he was the same. But his little thing, to have a go at you, every day, right, or every couple of days when you wanted a book, you'd ask him for a book. So you come out your cell, you go into the library, regimental, like that, you know, I've learnt all the regimental things. Yes sir, no sir, standing up straight. Okay, go around and get a book. see a book, you know what it is, you know the score, you take the book, you go back to your cell. I couldn't read anyway, but I had to get out of my cell. You know, I had to get out of the cell, driving me mad being in there, cleaning all the time and this and that. When I got 14 days CC, solitary confinement, I didn't realise what it meant at that time. I knew what CC was, solitary confinement. I didn't know what it meant, what it entailed for me to do. Get bashed up by screws, get pinched. And when you got the books from Stone, you turn over the page of the book that you're reading, you might be not number 20, you turn over and it goes straight to number 80. They rip the pages out. They had to do something to be nasty to you. And Stone, he had a thing about a truncheon. He loved the truncheon. He polished it like it was a baby. He polished it and polished it. But what he used to do, he used to come round the cell with the truncheon at the end, bang the door, bang, 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 10 times, never stopped. And you're trying to sleep. Are you waking now? Or are you sleeping? All right, sir. I'm trying to sleep, sir. Okay. Good night. Bang, bang, bang. And he'd do this every cell, maybe 10 cells down there. You can imagine when the train robbers were down there. This was the worst block in the country. That's where they kept the train robbers at Aylesbury. Yeah? Anyway, when I got back on the wing, I've been down the block now, 4 times, and every time you go down there, you go in front of the governor, nasty governor, CC, solitary confinement, and you always get 14 days. And that 14 days, you wished that they would take remission off you rather than the 14 days, because you didn't want to be down that block, mate. You did not want to be down. When you got nicked, when I used to get nicked, you think, oh no, got rid down the block. And it was not a deterrent because you'd always get nicked. You were the same thing, right? So eventually, I got a job in the kitchen and I was doing potatoes. I was a potato peeler at that time. Then they gave me a job in the coppers. So I was on the coppers and this horrible guy that kept giving you 14 days CC come into the kitchen. He went, Illy, got some good news for you, mate. You're being made up. You're going to the scrubs. All right, son? And I was over the moon. I was, not really, because the only thing I loved in that place was my powerlifting. We won so many medals, we got so many certificates. I had loads, you know, I can't find them. You lose things, don't you? You know, but I had loads of them. And when I went to back to the scrubs, with a Scottish guy from the main wing. Forget his name now. He was in my cell. I forget fucking everybody's name. I'm terrible. He was in my cell, and he was unbelievable doing sit-ups. He had abdominals, massive abdominals. He was doing sit-ups, never stopped. And I had a press-up thing where I put maybe five books, go down to the floor, come up, never stopped doing press-ups. Then they wind up doing about 10 books, yeah, doing press-ups. And I was as powerful as anything. And I'll never forget this day. Went down for dinner, and I was big, massive, and the people in I think it was A-wing I was in. The people in A-wing, because it's right next door to I think it was A-wing or C-wing. I'm not quite sure. It might be C-wing. C-wing, I think it was. The people, it was right next door to the laundry. Anyway. This is when I see Pounty, Anna Pounty, yeah? So as we come down for our food, people on the hot plate can't believe it. There's guys that are training, you know, you see the size, yeah, they can't believe it. They're looking at you, they can't believe how big you are, yeah? I'm there, wait to get my dinner, walking by the pantries, by the food thing, hot plate. And I felt something behind me that was massive, right? And what's that? I looked behind, and it was Cliff Fields. I didn't know Cliff Fields, but it was Cliff Fields. He told me who he was, and he became my mate. He became to my cell. He was a red band, yeah. He He was a red band. He used to go around all the wings, delivering things on barrows and all that. But Screws were petrified of him, mate. Let me tell you something. The Screws were petrified of him, yeah. At certain times on the wing I was on, you wasn't allowed donkey jackets to come on the hot plate with a donkey jacket on, yeah. He didn't care, mate. He would come on the wing on the hot plate with a donkey jacket. He didn't care. He didn't care. He'd be putting food in his pockets in the donkey jacket. Screws left him alone, mate. They were petrified of him. He never, I say never, of course he did, bang up. He very rarely banged up, red band. He banged up for his dinner, banged up for his, them sort of things, but he never really banged up like we had to bang up. He was in a single cell on the ones, red band, but I talked to him about his boxing and everything like that, and, and it was like, he was just such a nice guy, you know what I mean? Such a nice, quiet guy, big guy, giant guy. I didn't ask what he'd been nicked for, but a lot of people ask me, why did he lose? Why wasn't he such a good pro? A lot of people say, Frankie Warren says it's because his eyes should have cut. Perhaps it's because when I was in prison, perhaps he'd done something, maybe an ABH charge, GBH charge or something like that, where they took his licence from him. Maybe it's that, I don't know. Maybe people on my comments would know more about it than I do, yeah? I have tried to check it out, but I can't, it don't come back properly, yeah? But Cliff Fields, I liked him, mate. A nice guy. And later on, we all met, and he worked with me and Jimmy Tibbett. That's a big story. I'm going to tell stories every day or every other day. Let it go on for things you've really heard before, but put it all together and it's better, isn't it? Rather than a little bit, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, it's better to get it big. And, I like Cliff. We got together in there. He looked after me. He'd come up to the cell and he'd go, yeah, he'd give me sandwiches that he'd nicked from the hot plate. He didn't care, mate. He didn't care. He did not care. I don't, like maybe the Screws in there knew who he was and just let him be. He didn't want no problems, yeah. I was as big as an house, but I got all the problems, but he never got none. But so I liked him. I met him outside. But what it is, but when I was in my YP, in Aylesbury, I was always very, very fit, and I was always learning, more fighting, because I was doing a lot of amateur work, but I was a good fighter. Malcolm Peace, before he went, me and him used to shadow box and all that, and he used to talk about his fights and all that. And one day, I'm in the shower, and something happened. I don't know what happened. I can't really remember. But in a way, I was out of order with what I did. Someone was doing something. I said, "Why don't you shut up? You drive me mad." Someone had give me a bit of abuse, and I hit him so hard I knocked all his teeth out at the front. I ain't proud of that because the kid was a nice kid. A nice kid. I shouldn't have done it. I was out of order. But being flash really, I shouldn't have done it. But when I went to the scrubs, being made up to the scrubs, and I met Cliff Fields and all that, we used to go to the cinema, which was D-Wing. They had a big cinema in there, which got a D-Wing, and watch the telly, watch the films. And this particular time, I'm sitting in there, and this guy that I knocked his teeth out in Aylesbury, his brother, they're both doing the life sentence for certain things, armed robberies or something. His brother was in there with a guy called Dave Long. I like to tell Dave Long, game as anything. Him and his brother got bashed up terrible in Wandsworth, yeah. But Dave, I'll tell you about it later another day. Dave Long, he was a nice guy. Him and his brother, he didn't care, Dave, he didn't care. But he was with this other guy. I was in there watching telly, watching the film, and they was behind me, mate. And I come that close to getting killed, I think. I think, because I half-sussed something that was not right, you know, and they tried to stab me up. Dave grabbed me, but I got away. I was big. And they had a blade, mate, about 8 inches long, and I would have got that, and I'd have killed me. Dave Long, and his mate. But anyway, this is a quick story. It's about training and all them things that happened. And anyway, this is Bang Bang Ray. Please press the like button and subscribe. Nice one. Bye.